like to introduce our guest today?
Yes, well, I'm very pleased to welcome Bouwe to join us and chat today. Bouwe and his wife Debbie homeschooled their children from 2000 onwards. He's got 5 children. And in 2002, he got involved in homeschool organizations and became a trustee of the Pestalozzi Trust. And later he became the chair and still holds that position as chairman of the Pestalozzi Trust today. And he's also served in other organizations like the Association for Homeschooling and Cape Home Educators. He and Debbie established homeschoolers.org as a platform to help people get started into homeschooling. And in 2013, they joined forces with Kragdag, which organizes home education events around South Africa. So he's been immersed in the home education community and been serving them for a long time and home educating his own family. So we consider you an expert dad, Bouwe, and that's why we've got you here this month to talk about dads and homeschooling and just to give people some encouragement. So maybe you ask the first question, Wendy, and I've got one lined up, you know.
Yeah, I think that most of our chats are to encourage the mums, and I don't know how many fathers end up watching our videos, probably very few, but I know that there's a couple of questions that often come up from moms about husbands and their role in the homeschool. So the first question for me is, can dads be the ones that homeschool while moms go out to work? Do you think that there is a fundamental difference in how homeschooling then tends to work out? And how many dads do you know that are actually in there in the trenches with the kids while the mom's at work?
Hello, Shirley and Wendy. Thank you for this opportunity. It's always nice to talk to you. The first question is can dads homeschool children if the family situation is of such a nature that the mom is working full time and the dad is home? So the question of can, I think there is fairly simple. I think men can educate and women can educate. You've got good female teachers in the schools. You've got good male teachers in the school. So I don't think when it comes to the capability of educating children, I think dads are just as capable as moms. I think there's no reason to believe that that's not possible. Yeah. But some moms are better and some dads are better, and the other way around. Or and when you've got a marriage with a man and a husband and a wife, they complement each other. So and they've got different strengths and weaknesses. So I think when they collaborate, sometimes the mom does certain subjects in which she's strong, and the dad does other subjects in which he's strong. And if the dad is working full time, you have to make an arrangement where those subjects that the dad is strong in are done after hours. So yeah, I think most certainly dads can homeschool, and there are dads that do handle the homeschool load full time. I don't know many. I know one such dad, but I don't know many of them. But I think if I just look at the SA Homeschoolers Facebook page, the majority of the people that like the page are moms. I think it's about an 80-20 split. And most of the times, moms do the home education, but dads can do it, and some of them do it very successfully.
Yeah, they do. They do. Shirley, your question.
Sorry, background noise. Usually, it's the mothers who want to start homeschooling first, and in some situations, it's a case where a child has been in the school system and isn't coping well, either academically, they're struggling and it's affecting the child emotionally, or worldwide bullying is growing. it's a growing problem in the school system. And the mother sees the child getting bullied and she wants to rescue him or her and take the child out of the school system. And sometimes dads think the moms are being overprotective and the child's got to just learn to stand up for themselves. And they think that the mom is going to always overprotect this child at home, and they're never going to become independent adults one day. I know the answer to that, but I think people like to hear an answer like that from a man to man. So what's your answer?
Unfortunately, I haven't been in that situation. We sort of we both decided to homeschool, and when we decided to homeschool, we were actually not ready. So we had our eldest son went to school 1 year, and then we took him out. But it's very difficult to say. The argument that okay, a child is being bullied at a school. Should you take him out? And then the other party says no, he should learn to stand up for himself. I think in general we would say it depends on the age of the child. It depends on the character of the child. It's a very specific situation, and it depends on the character of the child. So I don't think there's a general answer to it. But there can also be merit in the question that some children, especially boys, need to learn to stand up for themselves. If in certain cases that there could be merit in the argument, but it's a very specific thing, and I wouldn't like to give a general answer to it. But okay, you got to ask the question. The purpose of school is not to. Is it to learn to stand up for yourself with peers that bully you? Yet isn't that something you should grow in strength? And once you're ready to handle the challenges of the world outside, then you can do. Should you? So I think there's an argument saying that is not the place and the time to learn that. Eventually, you'll have to be able to handle the real world, know how to handle people that don't agree with you, but you should gradually prepare for that situation.
Shirley, did you want to add something there? Because I was going to say there was an analogy that I had in my first book that I wrote like 100 years ago with the dinosaurs. And in it, I used the analogy of a tree that had just been planted, a small young sapling. And when you put it in the ground, the first thing you do is you put its support poles around it. And maybe in winter, you're going to put hessian around it to protect it from frost. At that stage, I was living in Johannesburg, and that high-felt frost will just annihilate anything if it's exposed too much too soon. And slowly, as the trunk gets a bit stronger and the roots go a bit deeper, I can water it less, I can take off a stake, I can unbind it so that it can stand firm in its time of testing. And for me, that's always been the picture. We tend to rush our kids as a country to grow up too quickly. Social media pushes kids to peak at 20. You need to know what you're doing by the time you're 18. Why aren't you earning income at this time? Why aren't you able to stand up? So that's always been my reply to dads, is to make sure, and to moms, to make sure that you're allowing them to mature at the right time for the right season, in each individual life, as Bouwe points out.
No, I can certainly go with that argument. I fully agree with it. But then the counter argument to that is also you've got this thing of helicopter parenting, that we try to protect the children from everything, and maybe protect the child against things that he is ready to start handling.
Absolutely.
So the role of the dad is there, like you said, we're a team. So the role of the dad is to teach the kids, I think, different skills and train them in character in different ways, perhaps, than a mom. And for boys in particular, the dad is the role model. So what do you say to the homeschool dads that are maybe working full time? And so it's the mother who is in charge of the academics, but how does dad fit in with that scenario?
Well, in that scenario, there are a number of things that I think are important that take a responsibility for. One of the things is planning. So the dad might not be involved in the day-to-day running, but the mom needs to spend some money to buy certain material, and the number of money that the dad generates is limited. So you should do some planning and budgeting together and say, okay, this is the amount of money we're going to spend on it. And this is the money that's available. So I think planning and budgeting is I think important. That the husband knows what money is available, and he should do that. So then the mother knows what she can do and what she can't do, and she doesn't need to nag. Oh, we want to do this and we don't know that. She can look at the budget and say, oh, we've still got money for this, so let's do it. Yeah. And I think another important role is traditionally the husband should create a safe environment with things like safety and protection are traditional roles that the husband plays. And that is true for homeschooling as well. Homeschooling is not commonly accepted in society, and there will be resistance and there will be criticism. And the husband should take responsibility to make sure that there's a safe environment in which home education can take place. And he should take the responsibility for joining the Pestalozzi Trust. We're dealing with conflict situations with friends and family, things like that. And then yet husbands also usually have the responsibility for discipline. So if the children don't want to listen, the mom can say, listen, if you don't do this, I'm going to tell dad when he comes back from work. Things like that. So that empowers her to successfully homeschool. And I think if the dad take responsibility for the safe environment in which the family can do the home education, they should also get involved in the organizations that promote home education, the Pestalozzi Trust, the associations that try to promote home education in the public space to make it more socially acceptable to the public as well as to government. So those are the roles I see. And the thing is, when you've got a dad that works in the corporate environment, he learns a lot of skills in that corporate environment, and he can take those skills also back into the home. Man, the corporates work in economy. Now, economy basically means family management, if you go to the Greek roots of it. So the same principle that work in corporate apply to the family, or a lot of the thing that there's a limited amount of money, you've got to plan, you've got to budget, all those things. So he's got to use the skills he gets in corporate and apply to the family.
Lovely. Sorry, I've just got a phone ring. I just need to turn that off there. The question that I was going to ask, because we often get asked this privately or even on our social media platforms, is I really want to homeschool, but my husband is resistant to me homeschooling. How can I convince him? And what would you tell that mom? We've got another video and we've got some articles about that, how we would approach it as women. What do you think those dads are needing to hear to be made aware that it is a viable option to have their children homeschooled?
Well, I think the dad probably assumes that the school system is a tried and tested thing, and why are we going to deviate from the tried and tested thing? I think to address that, you must giving information of how the school system actually performs, so that the test results are not as good as he thinks.
Yeah.
And a problem with parents in general is that they think about school as it was when they were in school.
Yeah.
So maybe 30 years ago, the school in which that person was not that bad. But things change a lot in 30 years. So give information of how the school system performs, and there's plenty of information about that. But also how the specific school in where you sent your children performs, and then information about what the research is about the success of homeschooling, so that he gets confidence that this is a system that can work. And then the question is, okay, if the system in general works, so homeschooling, let's say it's working in general, but does it going to work for you? And then maybe it's good to meet a homeschool consultant that analyzes your family and sees what are the strengths and weakness and the profiles of the family, and give you some, as a family, of some confidence that you as a family can homeschool.
Yes.
And then, yeah, there's also the danger of the absent father. There's lots of research explaining the danger of the absent father. So it's really important that when the family decides to homeschool, that the dad must be on board. If the dad is on board, the success will be much better. And having an absent father is not only bad for the homeschooling, but it's bad for the family, for the boys that do not have a role model. So there's lots of research showing in families with an absent father, the chances that the boys get into jail are much bigger. So those are things I think you can address. And then the other thing is, home education is good for the family. I hear lots of stories, and I'm sure you hear the stories as well. The child goes to school, and then for some reason the child cannot go to school for a while, which has happened last year, and then the child changes. If the child is in the home for a long time, he becomes a different person. He goes back to school, he changes again. So I think that was an eye opener to lots of parents, that how the school changes the child. And you can ask the question, do you want your child to become what he's becoming when he goes to school? So maybe the lockdown of last year taught that lesson to many families. Okay. So yeah, those are some arguments that I would do.
Some new thoughts in there. I think that's really great. Shirley, do you have a last question for Bouwe?
Yeah, the men are often worried that their kids are going to miss out on sport, rugby, and other sports.
Mainly rugby.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously sports is there are lots of sports opportunities outside the school system, but personally, there's no reason why homeschoolers or home learners cannot do sports. So if they want to do sports, they can go to clubs, and they can play team sports in clubs. The benefit of doing sports outside the school system is that you've got a bigger diversity of sports you can do. And then I know friends of mine, their children do underwater polo or underwater hockey. And if you start with that sport, you are immediately in the provincial team, because there's so few people, and you get to expose to lots of opportunities that when you do rugby, which is a more common play, to get into a provincial team is a major achievement. The competition is very, very strong. So yeah, but if you like rugby, there are opportunities to do rugby as well. I mean, so some public schools are quite open to include home learners. But I personally know a boy that likes rugby, and they had a discussion with the public schools in the area, and he got involved there. Otherwise, the private schools are also very keen to involve home learners. There's the organization called SAXA, which it arranges sports for private schools, and they're very open to home education. So yeah, I think there are lots of opportunities to do team sports if you're homeschooling. But it might require some more effort from the parents. They'll have to negotiate with the public school in the area, and it's not always going to be easy, but it's possible.
Definitely. I mean, we've got friends whose son is now on the world circuit for mountain biking. There's another family here in Fishhook whose son has been competing internationally in surfing competitions and supping. You know, there's so many things out there. Not everybody is a team sport player, which I think is important. Just because a dad has been a team sport player doesn't mean that the kids are naturally going to go into that. They might be more on the solitary level. I have one last question, and I hope I'm not throwing a curveball at you, Bouwe, but what would you say your top tip is for dads, and even from Debbie's perspective, after all these years of homeschooling your 5 children, what would you like to leave with the families that have listened to this today about a dad's role in home education?
Well, what they generally say, the parents learn the most from home education. The parents learn more than the children because it's a new journey for them. So I can tell everybody that considers home education, that's going to be an exciting journey. It's going to be a new journey. You're going to learn lots of things, and it's going to create strong family bonds that your children might not leave the house as early as otherwise they would have done. And so it's been, for me, it's enriched our family life. And I've learned a lot. So, well, that's not really a tip. That's just what happened. It also gave us a lot of freedom. We as a family, while we were living in Pretoria, I'm in the IT industry, so we went to the USA while I was doing a project. The family could come along, and we could do that. We went to Cape Town for 3 months. We went to Durban for 3 months. So it creates lots of new opportunities. That's exciting for your family and for you.
So perhaps the tip in that is the flexibility. You know, stay flexible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jules, anything else?
No, thank you very much, Bouwe. It's always lovely to get a fresh perspective, because Wendy and I have heard our own answers so many times that it's just the same old for us. Yeah. So we love to hear from somebody else, and I'm sure our listeners will too. Thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers, Bouwe.
It's a pleasure. Have a good day.